this past week, I've seen the IWC spark up with the speculation that SummerSlam was either Brock Lesnar's last match or that Brock Lesnar will be gone for the foreseeable future. So all over the internet, the IWC is spouting off, and I don't know where they get this information, but the IWC is spouting off that Brock Lesnar is not scheduled to wrestle again until WrestleMania season, which I guess that's January. That seems pretty par for Brock. Brock's been around a lot longer than he normally is. And now that he's wrapped up this thing with Cody, I don't really know where you go with Brock after that. There's a part of me that says, look, when it's time for Crown Jewel and Triple H starts, looking where he's cutting checks, there's probably a check in there for Brock Lesnar. I think it's funny that every time the IWC starts saying that somebody's not going to wrestle or somebody's gone or, Seth Rollins is injured, they show up on the next Premium Live event. So I'm not ready to write Brock Lesnar off. I'm not ready to say he won't show back up. I think, we've got 4.5 months left of this year. I think we'll see Brock. I think we see Brock before January. I really do. You're telling me he's not going to pop up on some card, that they're not going to need him. The next guy who gets hot that needs somebody to fight, you're not going to see him. I don't believe that. But the other rumor that I'm seeing float around is that Brock Lesnar is set to return around WrestleMania for a possible retirement match. Now, this was confusing to me because I know that WrestleMania following this one is reportedly going to be in Minneapolis. So it would seem more likely to me that would be where Brock would do his final match. But the rumors are starting to swirl that WrestleMania 40, Brock Lesnar could be looking at his final WWE appearance. And it got me thinking, how would I book Brock Lesnar's final run? If this is it. If Brock comes to me, Brock shows up, walks into my office, and he says, Nerdy D, this is it. I got one little run left in me, then I'm going to retire. I'm going to go back to Saskatchewan and live on my farm and just live out in peace. But what are we doing? How are we booking this? Well, I think the logical way for me is I have Brock come back. I go, Brock, I'm going to need you back around Crown Jewel. I think this is the way this works best. I'm going to bring you back at Crown Jewel, and I'm going to have you wrestle whoever's got the World Heavyweight Championship at that time. If it's Damian, if it's Seth, if it's LA Knight, whoever it is, whoever's got the World Heavyweight Championship, I need you to wrestle them, and I'm going to need you to just beat the life out of them and take that World Heavyweight Championship. Because we want you to have one last title run as you ride off in the sunset, and I think that the pictures and the optics of you with that big chunky belt are going to be beautiful. So at that same event at Crown Jewel, I'm gonna pull Gunther to the side. I'm going to say, Gunther, you've made it. You're the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. It's time for you to drop this belt. You're going to drop it. You know what? We're going to let Drew get his get back here. Drew's going to beat you at Crown Jewel. Drew will be the IC champion. He can roll that thing into WrestleMania against Sheamus, and we have, that thing books itself. But Gunther, we're going to start you in a program leading you towards the Beast. So then come Royal Rumble time, I have Gunther win the Royal Rumble this year. Last year, he was the longest participant. This year, he goes over the top, and he actually wins the Royal Rumble, setting up a World Heavyweight Championship match between Gunther and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. You look at that card, you look at the way that card starts flushing out, you could have Roman Cody, Gunther versus Brock, Sheamus versus Drew. It writes itself. It's perfect. And if that's where Brock decides to ride off in the sunset, I think that he rides off after being World Heavyweight Champion, and he puts Gunther over. And I think that's best for the company. I think that's best for Brock. And if Philadelphia is really where Brock decides to go out, it would make sense in the fact that it could be at 41 in Minneapolis where they decide to put Brock into the Hall of Fame, and then you could make that whole event just a spectacle surrounding Brock Lesnar's career. That makes sense to me. I actually think that works. But there's another side of me deeper down that thinks, yeah, okay, Brock loses at WrestleMania. He rides off into the sunset. He comes back at 41 in not his hometown, but where he's from, in Minneapolis. But I just don't think that's it for Brock. I just always see Brock as being this guy that is break glass in case of an emergency, right? Yeah, I'm retired, but if the check is big enough, I'll show back up. And that's more what I believe Brock Lesnar's career. I believe he will retire from active in-ring participation where he's showing up, 6 months a year. But I would feel hard-pressed to believe that Brock Lesnar doesn't show up multiple times in the next 5 or 6 years.